Hey, what's going on, everyone? Ryan again with rpkcustoms.com. I finally made it back from Florida. I was gone a little bit longer than what I originally planned, but I'm back. And I thought I would continue the series I have going about pieces from my personal collection. This is probably going to be my last collection video I do for a while, at least. I'm going to be getting back into making videos about things I'm building, the lightsabers and all that. But there are a few things in my personal collection that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So one of the things that I rarely ever hear anybody from the movie prop community talking about are wristwatches from movies. And almost every movie has an actor wearing a certain wristwatch in it. Besides like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and, fantasy movies that take place like completely outside of our solar system. And one of the things that I like to do when I watch a movie is trying to spot what kind of wristwatch the actor has on in the film. So, for instance, the James Bond franchise, James Bond is always wearing either one or multiple watches in these movies. Now, James Bond is usually wearing something on the higher end, like a Rolex or an Omega. Those cost around $10,000. But the cool thing about wristwatches in film is that there's an entire price range of watches that you can buy. The latest wristwatch that I spotted in a movie was in the new Gran Turismo movie. The main character is wearing a Casio Royale, the black resin version, which costs around $20. So for $20, you can have something on your wrist that was kind of featured in a movie, that was in a movie at least. Now, they don't do a really close-up shot of it, but you can see that it is a Casio Royale in the film. Another really famous cheap wristwatch is the G-Shock DW5600. And this watch was worn by Steve Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It was also worn by Keanu Reeves in Speed. And it was worn by Robert De Niro in the movie Heat. So this is this is a different version. This is the solar powered version, which I think cost me around $70. But the regular basic original version of this cost about $40 to $45, and you can get them at Walmart. They're very cheap, very readily available. Another example of a really cheap, readily available wristwatch from film would be the Casio calculator watch. And this watch was very famously worn by Michael J. Fox, a.k.a. Marty McFly from Back to the Future, as well as countless other movies. Usually anytime a director wants to portray somebody that is a little bit nerdy, they throw a Casio calculator watch on their wrist. But the one wristwatch that I spotted from a film that was actually featured in a film, there was a really nice, clear close-up shot of it, was the Hamilton Interstellar or Hamilton Coop. And the movie was Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey wore it on his wrist in practically the entire film. And the first time I saw that movie and saw the watch on Matthew McConaughey's wrist, I immediately fell in love with the watch. I think it's probably the most beautiful watch ever made, which is a good thing, because if I thought a Rolex or an Omega was the most beautiful watch ever made, I'd probably be in amount of debt. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we are going to take a little bit closer look at this. All right, here's a close-up of the Hamilton Interstellar or the Hamilton Coop. The reference number, for those of you who are interested, is right there. It is H646150. And you can see, well, I have it turned around, that this is a fully mechanical movement. So this does not take batteries. This winds itself from you moving your wrist. So when this is on your wrist, the movements that you make during the day will wind this watch. And you can see the rotor spinning in there. That's what actually winds the watch. You can also wind it with the crown. But as long as you're wearing this watch on a daily basis, you don't have to worry about winding this. Now, like I said, I think this is probably the most beautiful watch ever made, or one of the most beautiful watches ever made. And you can see why I would think that. You can see the numerals kind of play off the light. So in some lighting, they look almost black, and in other lighting, they almost appear to glow, which I think is really cool. And they are also raised. So if you can see in there, they are raised up off the dial a little bit. But yeah, Interstellar is probably one of my favorite movies. Definitely in my top 5, if not my top 3 all-time favorite films. So it's really cool to have a piece from that movie. And there was actually 2 watches that were featured in the film. This is the one that Matthew McConaughey was wearing, and the one that his daughter was wearing, or the one that he gave his daughter. They were both Hamilton brand. The other one is on a leather strap and just looks a little bit more classy. It has a cathedral handset and no day-date complication. It's very toned down, but this is always the one that stuck out to me. And before I bought this watch, I had a Hamilton Khaki King, and the Khaki King is what Hugh Laurie wore on the TV show House. If you guys have never seen House, it's a phenomenal TV show. I highly recommend watching it. I watched that a lot when I was younger. It came out probably early to mid 2000s, I think. I ended up selling that watch so that I could get this one. But I was always attracted to Hamiltons, and I found out after I bought my Hamilton that my great-grandfather also wore a Hamilton. He had I think it was a white gold Coronado. So I have a connection to the brand. Now, Hamilton used to be made in America. They are made, well, you can see right there, down there, it says Swiss made. They were purchased by the Swatch company, I think back in the 70s or 80s. So yeah, I think that's it. And you can definitely tell that I wear this almost every single day. Look at all that grody nastiness in there. I really have to wash this. But at least you guys can see that I do wear this on a daily basis. The only time I'm not wearing this is when I'm at the gym. And if I'm at the gym, I'm typically wearing my G-Shock Square. But like I said, Interstellar is probably one of my all-time favorite films. And it's really cool to have a piece of memorabilia from that movie. So let me throw it on the wrist real quick. Give you a wrist shot before I get out of here. There it is on my 7-inch wrist. Now, the distortion from the camera lens is making it look a little bit bigger on my wrist than what it actually is. It wears a little bit smaller in person. And it's finally starting to break in. The bracelet's finally starting to break in. You can hear that nice rattle. All right, so here it is again. And I have a 7-inch wrist for your reference. You can see it doesn't look nearly as big from a distance than what it does when the camera's right up close on it. Yeah, this is just one of those pieces that I'm never going to sell. I wear it every single day, and I could not imagine myself not wearing this. The only time I'm not wearing it is when I'm wearing my G-Shock, like I said. And every time I'm wearing my G-Shock, I'm thinking about this watch. So, yeah, it's that bad. Thanks for watching, guys.